last Jum'ah regarding the well in so, and because we live in the country here, you know that we have to follow the law and the regulations. So we like to, inshallah, learn how we could apply our Islamic will to the like a state law in New Jersey to be, inshallah, in a safe side after you live in this dunya. And as I said in the khutbah, according to Hadith al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said in the Hadith, ما حق امرئ مسلم عنده شيء يوصي به, the right for each individual Muslim he had to make as a will. He couldn't sleep 2 days unless his wasiyah under his pillow. So this Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah, I'm gonna leave, inshallah, the time for the brother to talk to you. And then, inshallah, we can have a session for a question and answer. وجزاكم الله خيرا. وإن شاء الله, the brother Marwan. جزاك الله خير.
Assalamu alaikum. Can everyone hear me? All right. So, actually, the Sheikh just pointed out my first part of the speech, which is one of the hadith that says, it is the duty of a Muslim who has anything to bequest not to let 2 nights pass without writing a will. So even in Islam, it's very important, even if you're in an Islamic country, to actually write a will. Now imagine the importance of it in writing it in the US, because here there is what we like to say in estate planning, a will is written for you whether you like it or not. It either goes under state law. If you don't have a will, state law tells you or tells the family what to do upon passing. If you do have a will, the state will follow the wishes of whoever the the person dying. So a lot of people don't like to think about their death, but subhanallah, that's one of our rights. Everyone is going to pass, regardless of how old you are. I mean, it's sunnat al-kawn. It's part of it. So, and another hadith that I actually really like is, it says, a man may do good deeds for 70 years, but if he acts unjustly when he leaves his last testament, the wickedness of his deed will be sealed upon him, and he will enter the fire. If, on the other hand, a man acts wickedly for 70 years, but is just in his last will and testament, the goodness of his deed will be sealed upon him, and he will enter the garden, inshallah. So just to show you the importance in Islam of having a will and having it done correctly. So the will gives it the testator. Usually I have a presentation, by the way, but it's going to be tough to put it here. That's why I'm reading a little bit. But usually it gives the person an opportunity to pass on whatever wealth they've accumulated, whether it be businesses, whether it be property, land, law. Now, there's factors to consider here in the U.S. And honestly, I'm not an Islamic scholar. So what I do is I have talked to many sheikhs and tried to get the Islamic way. If there's something that I'm not sure, I ask either the person if they want to ask, or I can do it. I do my research, inshallah. Again, I'm not an Islamic scholar, but I try to do it the Sharia Islamic way as much as possible. But at the end of the day, it's me as an attorney here in the U.S., I have to follow what the person is telling me to do. All right, so factors to consider in estate planning. So we have objectives of the plan. Usually in an estate plan, there's really 6 factors to consider. And the 6 components, a lot of it is, the financial issues. So we have state plan. Now we have, if you die intestate, what we call intestate, which is if you don't have a will, state law factors in. And state law says everything goes to the wife. And then of her passing, everything gets split evenly with the children. A lot of people are fine with that. Under Sharia, that's not the way it is. Under Sharia, the wife gets 12.5%. The children, the male heirs, get double what the female heirs. Shafiq, please tell me if I'm incorrect. The female heirs get half of what the male heir gets. Okay? Obviously, there's a lot of different ones now. If there's no male heirs, there's the family gets something. But generally speaking, this is how it gets split up. Now, if the wife passes before the husband gets 25% rather than 12.5%. And again, it's split the same way for the children in us, right? And so you need this plan. It's very important. You can do it again in many ways. There's the trust. If you have minor children and you have assets, a trust might really work because you want to say who's going to be the guardian of these children. Masamahallah, both parents pass. Is it the uncle? Is it the aunt? Is it the grandparents? These are all questions that when you're talking to an estate planning attorney, you're going to have to think about. And whether it's me or not, please, this is not just a plug that, oh, come see me. This is, go see an attorney, an estate planning attorney that's going to be able to do something. Whether it's me or not, it's really not the point. I really try to tell everyone, my family included, this is very important stuff, especially here in the U.S. So, sorry. Now, just as an idea of how little estate planning there is, over 40% of Americans age 45 or older don't have a will, okay? That goes up to almost 60% of just adults in general. Again, some people might say, well, I had my will and it was done 10, 15 years ago. 10, 15 years ago, probably a lot has changed. And these don't change unless you change them. So if you have more children, you might want to change. You have a new business that you want to give it to someone, that's going to change. So in a will, if you just draft the will, it tells you what you want to do with your assets. Okay. The other instrument that I use a lot is, again, that's what I was saying in terms of the trust. Trust you're really able to control. In terms of if you have minor children, and say these children are under 18, Allah, you pass away. How are they going to control that? At 18, if you give a child, big amount of money, it's scary. I mean, I know me personally, at 18 years old, if I had a big sum of money, I probably wouldn't have put it to the best use. So that's another issue, and that's where trusts come in. A trust, you're able to actually give percentages at 18, give percentages at 25, or whatever age. Now, the one concept, and I've talked to a sheikh about this, and please, tell me what your ideas are, but some sheikhs say you have to give the money or your assets away as soon as possible, while others have said if they're children, they're younger, you're able to give it to them in basically in payments. Right, so partially. So I've heard it both ways. Again, not an Islamic scholar. That would be something that we can talk to, whatever makes the client comfortable, I'm willing to do. I really like the fact that you're able to give it partially. At 18, you give them 20% and anything for their health, education, maintenance, and support. They want to go to college, take it. But if you're going to go, to Vegas for a weekend, probably not. It's a shame, but at 18 years old, that's how a lot of kids think. Again, knowing me personally, at 18, I was not the brightest in terms of what I want to do financially. I wanted the big screen TV, and I wanted the Corvette. I mean, when you get $50,000, you're not thinking, or $100,000, or $1 million. That's not what you're thinking. You're thinking this is what you want to do. So we can set it up where in terms of 18, you get something. After college, you can put in different things that the child must do, finish college, attain a degree, to just kind of motivate them after you've passed, after you're not able to motivate them anymore. So those are trusts. Okay. So we went through the power of attorney. Now, if you don't have a trust, your assets go through what's called probate. Probate is this long process. It takes usually about a year. So usually you don't think of, you pass and the children get everything, or the wife, whoever, the beneficiaries get something. That's not the case. There's a probate process, and the probate process usually depletes 5 to 10% of the estate, of the gross estate. I mean, that's a big number when you think about it. And it depletes it through attorney's fees, because you have to get an attorney to go through court. It depletes it by doing court costs. You have to go to the judge and you have to tell them, we're probating this will, we're probating this, and there's a waiting period of at least 4 months in PA and New Jersey until you're even able to distribute the assets. Now, what happens when there are payments? Here, most people have a mortgage or rent payments. Most people have car payments. So if everything is in one person's names, a lot of times these assets get frozen. And, I've seen it with, pretty wealthy individuals where they have everything tied up and, they weren't expecting, obviously no one expects when they're going to pass. And as soon as they pass now, the wife is sitting there. She doesn't know where to make the payments. She doesn't know who to send all these. So these are all things that we can sit down and really talk to and have maybe, set amount on the side and say, this amount of money is not going to go through probate. This amount of money is going to be used for, for the payments of all these things. So these are all very important. And then, so the probate, you file with the court, you identify all the property in multiple states, you get it appraised, you pay off the debts, you have to prove the will, and then you distribute all the assets. And like I said, usually it's a year process. Now the other thing, and this is big in the Muslim community, is business succession. All right, a lot of us own small businesses. What are we doing in terms of how does this business? Who are we going to give it to? And there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. There's buy-sell agreements. You can slowly give it off to the next person that's going to be in line, whether it's the son or the daughter or whoever. It could also be in terms of you have a really good employee and that employee is going to take over the business and they're going to pay. So these are also something that everyone should really pay attention to. If you own a small business or a large business, you should really see something of a business succession plan and who's going to take over and who's going to manage, once you are incapacitated or you are, or you pass. So summary, everyone should have a will, really, especially Muslims. That's if you get anything from today, it's you need a will. At least the very bare minimum is getting a will. Estate planning can give you a preferred and carefully planned out conveyance of your assets. So we sit down again. I have just as an example, because you see a lot of these online, and I really don't suggest you just taking it online. Really go to an estate planning attorney. We know, what assets and how you should convey them. I have this questionnaire that I've developed, and it really gets into your assets. And when you have someone that you're talking to, and he or she knows what they're doing, it makes it simpler and it kind of puts your mind at ease. Okay, this person knows what they're doing. They're able to really guide me, not just I'm drafting a simple will. So these are questions. It's a questionnaire of your values, what you want to do, who you want to be your guardian. So this is very important, and I like to give this to any potential clients. They fill it out, they send it back to me. I take a look through it and I say, all right, this is what I think. This is what you have. This is what goes through probate. This doesn't. Whether I think you should have a trust or a will or not. Also at the firm we do immigration law. I don't do immigration law. But we do have an immigration attorney who just does immigration. I know right now with our president, Trump, the orange man, he's been tough. He's been tough. So it has not been fun, and he has really put a burden, especially on people from the Middle East, especially where my family's from Syria. So if you have any questions in terms of immigration, I know someone, I don't do it. I might be able to answer a quick question here or there.
You can bring him next month.
Inshallah, yeah, inshallah. If you guys, if you're interested. My other specialty is business law. I've done all sorts of business agreements, buy, sell. I put up together mergers, acquisitions, So any type of business law, I don't do litigation. I have another partner who does litigation, only litigation. So I just wanted to give, a little summary of estate planning. But if you have any other questions, if you have any other issues, please, see me after this, and I'll kind of guide you or let you know, and we can chit chat for a little bit. Any?
Just one question.
Go ahead.
Say if I planted a will and say like I leave some assets to my brothers or sisters or something overseas.
Right.
How guaranteed the state's gonna send that?
Well-
They cannot get a visa, they cannot come here, they
Right.
can. So what I do in this case?
Your executor is the one that takes care of it.
No, say I'm the one leaving my will. Say, hey, I wanna leave whatever such to my cousin overseas,
Right.
whatever the case is.
You're going to have an executor. If
But
you-
even if I have an executor, and the executor, of course, is going to be Americans, and Americans are like, I'm not going to look for your cousin in, I don't know.
Well,
somewhere
but when you take it to the court,
Uh-huh.
the court checks and says, has all this been done? So there has to be proof. So when you take it to a court, and you have to take it to probate. So when you take it to probate, the court actually looks at it and says, whatever you were saying, $10,000 to my cousin in
Right.
wherever.
Right.
So when the executor comes in and says, Your Honor, this is, again, probably a year after, when the executor comes in and says, Your Honor, we have completed everything, all right? Now we have to show an accounting. We have to show proof. Okay, we have to show proof that all the person's will went through how we wanted it to go. We paid the debts. We gave, Susie $10,000 in wherever. So usually that's how it goes. And I said this before, the executor should be someone we trust, because at the end of the day, if the beneficiary's out of the country and you have a bad executor, they can probably lie their way out of it. To tell you it's 100%, proof or it's, foolproof, or that's not right. They can probably lie. That's why you need an executor that's trustworthy. And that executor could be someone, as if you don't trust or you don't have family, it could be an attorney, it could be a financial planner, it could be someone that is basically paid to take care of all that. Because executors are allowed to get paid for their time. So it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be my nephew or my son. It could be, my great attorney who works right over in Philadelphia, who's, tall, big guy, handsome, that does all that. That was me, by the way. I thought.
Talking about Yahya.
Exactly. Right. But no, so it could be some of that. Yeah. Any other questions?
Come on, guys, it's a free question. Go ahead.
Yeah, what about the funeral? Who will be responsible for the funeral charges?
So that's part of the estate. The issue in Islam is our funerals are much quicker than the will allows. So what you can do is have someone set up and say, listen, you pay for this, or you have money set aside for it, and then it could be taken out from your estate. So let's say, your brother wants to pay or something, because usually that's a tough question, because we don't have time to get the executor and the probate, it's next day or the same day. So that is something, but whoever pays can get reimbursed from the estate. So that's number one. That's allowed. Number two is, a lot of times we'll set up a set amount of money on the side and say, this is for my funeral costs. Anybody else?
So no one has to be written in details, or just gonna say based on Sharia Islamiyah?
No, because Sharia Islamiyah is open for interpretation. And you don't want anything open for interpretation in these, because that's when you go to court. And it's funny, because before I was setting up and preparing, and there's a list of all these celebrities with millions and millions of dollars, much more than me and you can ever imagine. And they didn't do estates, and it takes sometimes 10 years for them to do, because they had a half-written will, or, made one mistake. So these, it has to be very specific. This is not something that should be open for interpretation because are you Sunni or Shia? Are you, there's so many different things, and it's not you. You might know exactly what you want, but it's, masamahallah, it's one of these, potential beneficiaries that come in and say, no, I can get you a sheikh that says it all comes to me under Sharia law. And you have people that unfortunately will do something like that. So no, I do not suggest I give my assets Sharia law. Also, definitely as specific as possible. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'll see you again.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair.
Any more question, Akhwan? Another questions? Inshallah, Akhwan, on your behalf, we thank our brother Marwan of what he just, alhamdulillah, shared with us. So he's here. If you need more details, if you want to think about start writing your will, so some of this tuition will go back to the center. Allah yarda alaykum. So please think about it, inshallah, and open a way with the brother. Inshallah, this is a good